Hi. I a few weeks ago started a series about staying on plan, and we talked about developing a firm foundation. We talked about how important it is to understand the science behind this way of eating, and we talked a little bit about how when you see a food, instead of thinking, wow, that tastes good, you think this is not good for my body, this is a type of poison, particularly if you believe that you're carb intolerant. Well, Banjo, our Morky, is joining me to talk to you a little more about staying on plan. And it was interesting because I spend a lot of time thinking about what helps people stay on plan and what doesn't. And what's interesting is that the people who tend to do really well with adapting this as a lifestyle are the people who stay on plan. And let me just give you a little bit of an example about that. One of the things, and I think I said this in the earlier video, one of the things about low carb, high fat is you have to be consistent to see the payoff, to see the rewards. And when I first started, I made the commitment that I was going to do it, I think, for 2 weeks. What I ask people to do when they first start is to make a 3-week commitment and to not deviate from the plan for 3 weeks. The thing is that if you have a cheat meal or if you go off plan, you undo all of the work you've done, and usually you undo it for as much as 1 to 2 weeks. It takes the body quite a while to adjust. And so you really need to give yourself a fair chance at this to make it work. So ask people when they first start, give it 3 weeks, a 3-week commitment. And, there's, I'm not endorsing this at all, but there is an organization called Overeaters Anonymous. And one of the philosophies there is kind of one day at a time. And that's exactly what I did when I started. And I mentioned that before too. So I gave it a 3-week commitment and I said, okay, for today, just for today. And every time I was tempted to have something off plan or to fall into a low carb meal, I would say, okay, I've got to give this a fair shot. And so I'm going to give this at least 3 weeks. Now, I didn't start out, and I've mentioned this before, I didn't start out saying I'm never going to eat a potato again. I started out saying I'm not going to eat a potato for today. Just for today, I'm going to give this 3 weeks. Well, I don't know what's magical about 3 weeks. Maybe it's just my favorite number, but by the end of 3 weeks, you've given it enough of a chance that your body has started to adapt to being a fat burner. Remember, you're going from giving it sugar and carbs to adapt to burning fat for fuel. And by that time, people generally feel so good that the difference is worth it. Now let's talk a little bit about that. How do you know if you've got that foundation? I've read the book and maybe I think I've got the foundation. If you've got that firm foundation established, you will not. Here's the litmus test. I'm going to give you 3 tests, okay? The first litmus test is you will not eat a high carb meal or a high carb food. And I'll tell you why. When you've got a firm foundation, again, you look at that and you think, it's going to make me feel bad. That is a poison to my body. The litmus test there is, it no longer looks good to you, okay? So when you can sit down with a big plate, someone else eating beside of you, fries or ice cream or yeast bread, whatever your triggers are, when you can sit beside that person and think, yuck, then you know you've got a firm foundation. What's the second thing? The second way you'll know you've got a firm foundation is because you've been eating high fat, low carb, and you're satisfied. If you're hungry doing low carb, high fat, you're doing it wrong. Okay, you should not be hungry, especially in the beginning. I spent most of my life being hungry, just starving, waking up hungry, going to bed hungry, being hungry through the day. I was one of those people that I kept snacks in my car and my purse and my desk drawer. And folks would say that if they ever went off the side of a mountain in a snowstorm, they wanted to be with me because they would not starve to death. I didn't go anywhere without food. I was hypoglycemic, and every hour and a half to 2 hours I was eating. And I thought that was normal. I thought that's what I needed. Once I went low carb, high fat and started eating high fat, because fat is so satisfying, I would skip meals. I'd forget to eat. Now I go a minimum usually of 4 to 5 hours between meals, and I don't get hungry. So if I end up at a luncheon or I end up out in an area where there's nothing I can eat, I'll get water. I won't even get a salad, because if you think about what's in salad, it's mostly carbohydrates. I'll just wait. I'll have a cup of coffee with my friends, or a glass of wine, or a glass of water, and just relax and try to enjoy the company. And there's your third litmus test. Your third litmus test is when food is not your entire focus. Now, this is coming from a woman who loves to cook, who does these videos to share with folks. Food was at the center of my life. I thought about it all the time. I still think about it a lot because of helping folks do low carb, high fat, but I don't think of it all the time the way I used to do. When you can reach the point where you're skipping meals and you're not eating, not because you're starving yourself, that's not healthy, but you're doing it because you get busy and you forget to eat, or you're just simply not hungry, then you've got a firm foundation. Let's recap. What are our 3 firm foundations? 1, when you can look at those high carb foods and think, no, that doesn't even taste good to me now because I eat healthy, satisfying, low carb, high fat foods. So there's 1. When you can look at that and not feel deprived, because no one wants to feel deprived. That's why I do the recipes I do. You should not have to feel deprived. Second one is you're not hungry. When you're not hungry, you're not deprived, you're satisfied. You're giving your body what it needs. It's so busy burning the fat from your tummy and your thighs and your waist and your shoulders and your neck that your body doesn't tell you I'm hungry because it doesn't need those things. And the third is you're not thinking about food. When you go to a social outing, when you go to dinner with friends, when you go to a birthday party, you're not thinking about the food that's on the buffet. You're thinking about the family and the friends that you're going to have great conversations and make wonderful memories with. That's the power of low carb, high fat. You get those 3 things down pat, you've got a firm foundation. We're going to talk about more of those completely, especially the social and cultural aspect that is so important. We're going to talk about that. So stay with me. Thanks so much for being part of this low carb journey with me. I am just so excited to have you guys along. I learned so much. You guys think I give a lot. I actually get a lot more from this in terms of what I learned from you all and sharing, and absolutely makes my day to hear from folks who are going low carb, high fat, and to hear how it's changed their lives. I have opened up my Facebook group. It's called Low Carb Journey, in parentheses, Cooking Keto with Kristie. You can find it on Facebook. I'll put a link in the video description. And so if you're interested in sharing the journey, join us there.